Hey, great hearing that music on this Wednesday afternoon. That means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's get things underway. We've got an interesting show, I'm sure. And Kerry, Fink, you can lead us through that show for today with your special guest and our good friend, Dr. Lee Sheldon.
Absolutely. Thank you, John Harper. Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday lunchtime around the radio. We gather every midweek. You take a midweek break from noon to 1 with the Helping Seniors radio program right here on 90.3 FM WEJF. I want to welcome those who are also joining us online at WEJF.net. And also a special hello to those of you who catch this as a podcast, because we always take the Helping Seniors broadcast and make them a podcast, because a lot of times what we find is people may have missed a point that they want to go back and review, or maybe it just wasn't convenient for them to catch it the first time out. Or a lot of times we'll hear from folks that say, that was really good, and my friend so-and-so really needs to hear what Dr. Lee Sheldon was talking about. Right, Dr. Sheldon?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, Kerry. So, yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay. My point actually in this was, what we really do experience, because, Dr. Sheldon, we were talking about this just the other day, that literally when Joe Steckler, our president and founder, created this organization after his experience of creating the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation and setting things up for so that we have those Joe's Clubs to this day, which they named after him, the adult daycare facilities and all the great programs that he initiated there. And he found a need for getting information in the hands of seniors and the families that love and care for them. And a lot of times it can just be, sometimes it's just a concerned neighbor who lives a couple of doors down from somebody and just trying to look in and make sure that the nice little lady who lives, 3 doors down is doing all right. Because we often say it takes a village to raise a child, but it really does take everybody looking out to make sure that everything is going the right way for seniors. And so, Dr. Sheldon, I think that's one of the reasons that Joe has always been on the education front, so that we could get good information in folks' hands. And that's why I think people do come back and find these broadcasts, these TV shows, even the articles that we publish in the center section of Senior Scene magazine. I think that's one of the reasons that people always come back. They like to find it at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org, because we make sure everything's there. We also put everything out on our Facebook page, Helping Seniors of Brevard, and we put it out on our YouTube channel, Helping Seniors of Brevard. So, and like I said, you have been a major contributor, Dr. Sheldon, along the way. But I've noticed people will call us like several weeks after a broadcast aired, because maybe they just ran into something or ran into a situation that had relevance, and they wanted to share that information with other folks, in their family who could benefit from it.
That's true. You also have the opportunities for I went to the talk that occurred last week, and noontime talk, and so some of the same people that you're hearing on the radio, or that you see writing articles in Senior Scene magazine, are there live and in person, and you can talk with them directly to address your individual needs. So there are lots of opportunities through Helping Seniors in order to be able to interact with people who we know are reliable people in our community. I think that's one of the biggest benefits. Not only do we accumulate names of people, but we qualify names of people to make sure that they're here in your best interest, and that becomes a greater benefit, particularly when you're going into a field that you've never really experienced before. Elder law, for example, you go into elder law. Who do I go to? Who's the best lawyer for that? Well, we have the best lawyers right here. If we're talking about senior living care, Nancy Deerdorf has been here for a long time doing that as working in a major senior organization before she was kind enough to lend her talents to us. So there, and if you take a look at the sponsors that you'll see in Senior Scene magazine or on the Helping Seniors website, these people have all been vetted. They are all there to help you, and that is a tremendous benefit. So it's the education. It's also the fact that you have the people who know what they're doing and are looking out, businesses that are looking out for your best interest.
Yeah, you're saying that so well, Dr. Sheldon. And folks, I just jumped right in. I didn't even properly introduce Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist. We have a great topic today. We're going to talk about braces at all ages, but I want to stay on just what you're referencing for just a moment, Dr. Sheldon, because what you're saying is so critical to the core of what Helping Seniors is all about. When Joe established Helping Seniors of Brevard, you were right there with him as a board member, helping him get the whole thing going, just like John Harper was. And here we are, literally going into our 14th year of service, and you guys are still serving on the board and helping us try to go and grow with all this. But that's always been Joe's point, is you need a plan. You need an aging plan. You need a hurricane plan because we live in Florida, but you need an aging plan because it doesn't matter where you live, we're going to age. And what I've really understood over the years, what Joe means by that, we euphemistically call it getting your ducks in a row. And Dr. Sheldon, there's two corollaries that we've added to that basic theme of getting your ducks in a row. One is, don't try this on your own. There's so much good help in all the things that we're talking about, and particularly like when you were referring about elder law attorneys and things like that. People often see a commercial on TV and they think, well, I'm just going to log on to this site and I can just build my own estate plan. And they have no idea how many, oftentimes it could be tens of thousands of dollars that they're risking because they were trying to save $200 or something by trying to do this themselves online, but are not prepared to do it. And I was even thinking about the second corollary, which we talk about a lot, which is don't put your head in the sand. And one of the things, Dr. Sheldon, that we've talked a lot about in the Helping Seniors world, I've seen this affect the elder law section. I've seen this affect the folks who help people find a place for mom or dad. I've seen this affect the people that help other people locally determine the best Medicare kind of programs. And that is that people will see a national ad on television from somebody that they used to like in some great television show. It was a wonderful caricature from the TV show. And these people are encouraging them to call some 800 number and resolve whatever it is. Insert it there. Or it could be the reverse mortgage. It could be the Medicare plan. Just tell us your zip code. It could be do your estate planning at home. And I was even thinking, Dr. Sheldon, I've seen it from time to time in the dental practice where they say, oh, you don't really need your dentist. You can just call this 1-800 number and we're going to fix things up for you. And I always think to myself, that is so dangerous because you don't know if, like Nancy Deerdorf likes to say, you don't know what you don't know, Dr. Sheldon.
When it was about 10 years ago, and this is when I was writing from Florida Today. So I had patients were coming in, and I had patients coming in with real abscesses. I mean, infections in the gum, infections in the bone, and they were destroying their bone support. Well, what had happened? A book had come out, and it had come out probably 3 or 4 or 7 years before that. I forgot what it was, talking about oil pulling for dental disease. And that was putting coconut oil between the teeth for dental disease. And it was oil pulling was never really made for that. Somebody published a book. It became popular. And I'm seeing patients coming in saying, well, I tried oil pulling for 2 or 3 weeks and it didn't work. And these were teeth that were then destroyed, or the bone was nearly totally destroyed. And it resulted in either major dental work or extractors, where if they just caught this problem early and gone to their dentist or gone to us, gone to whatever, it would have been taken care of. You got to be really careful about what you read and who's saying what, because anybody can say anything. When we look at now, as you know, I've been in marketing I know what marketing is. I understand what marketing dental practices are. And it kills me when I see people who have decided to have teeth extracted based on an ad that says dental implants, and we've talked about this before. Dental implants are fantastic, and they're better, and with the implication that periodontal disease can't be treated, and therefore, if you extract your teeth and you put dental implants, you'll have these beautiful teeth, and you will. But for maybe not for very long, because the dental implants are also subject to the same periodontal disease. It is easier to keep a tooth than it is to keep an implant when there's an infection around it. So it just means that The commercials are great. I mean, commercials essentially said that allowed people to know that, in fact, these full mouth dental implant restorations can be done. And so it opened up a market for that, which was good on that side. But then the determination as to when you should have a tooth extracted, if you should have a tooth extracted, and what the consequences are, or what the consequences are for extracting all your teeth, for some people, that may not be the best solution. And that's where it's more important to go to a diagnostician who can help you and can help you make the decision to go in that direction with dental implants, or maybe not go in that direction. You could have saved a heck of a lot of time, money, and comfort by keeping your teeth.
You know, as you're saying that, I was really thinking about there. You know, so there's two challenges, right? Number one, there's that old saying: if it's on the internet, it must be true. So I often say this, like a lot of times when people try to, we use the term self-medicate sometimes, but in this case, I'd say it's self-educate. And the challenge is that you have to be, I guess, discerning enough to be able to sort through everything you're reading on the internet. Or you're discerning enough to understand when you call an 800 number that maybe you're reacting to a television ad that you saw. You're speaking to a call center of somebody out in, you know, the Midwest, and generically I'm not saying they're not trying to help you, but they're within their little framework of things. And the question that Joe, that I think it begs is, Joe had always had this in mind when he formed Helping Seniors, was that everything must be local, because why are you going to call somebody in Iowa to ask about, which Medicare plan is going to be better for you? Why are you going to try to hold a camera up to your mouth and show somebody on some kind of a Zoom call or something like that what your teeth look like, and think that's going to substitute for a comprehensive dental evaluation? And yet, you know, one of the things, Dr. Sheldon, that I see that happens on the internet a lot, and maybe you've experienced this as people come to your office and ask questions, is that there's a great tendency to oversimplify things on the internet. Now, some of that's good. Like our youngest daughter, Anna, would create really great meals, and we'd say, well, how did you learn to cook like this? And she said, well, I saw this recipe and they showed me how to make it on internet. I saw it on a YouTube page. But the reality is, for things that get a little bit more complicated than that, we can get ourselves into trouble real quick.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there are a number of services that I can sign on to, or I could sign on to when I owned the dental practice, but the kids here could do that as well, in order to get more patients. Understand that you advertise with one of these services. The idea is that this service, this 800 number, this website, then becomes advertised to you, and then you call the website. The website will only refer to the people who've signed up for advertising on that website, and that's how they get to you. That is one way of doing it. Or having people who are vetted by people who know what's going on, maybe another way. Which way do you choose? And in Brevard County, we're very fortunate to have Joe doing this, and still doing it at the age of 90. He's still pushing this every single day. Amazing what Joe has done. What Joe has shown us all that retirement should be all about. It's service to others, and that's what Joe is doing, and that's what keeps Joe going every single day to be able to make this work. And as he does that, he develops a group of allies who are totally loyal to him. I was talking with one of our board members last week, and she said to me, "If Joe asks you to do it, you do it."
Yeah. No. You're saying it so right, and I was thinking about that to the point, to your point, Dr. Sheldon, that actually I want to digress for half a second and let everybody know, if you hadn't heard already, May is actually Older Americans Month. It's recognized. They tout it every place. I really think every month should be Older Americans Month, but May is designated for that. And each year, the Brevard County Board of Commissioners not only does a proclamation basically affirming that it's important that we recognize the contributions of seniors and what they have meant and do mean every day in our overall lives, but also they choose somebody who is representative of a great example of what success in senior living looks like. And this year, as you know, Dr. Sheldon, they selected none other than our fearless leader, Joe Steckler, because they recognized here's a guy who retires as a Navy captain, can't stay retired. They move here. They're going to relax. He and Terry are going to relax here near the Air Force Base, or now Space Force Base in Satellite Beach. And Joe can't stay retired. So sure enough, he's off and running and setting up Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, which you and John were very much part of helping him get that going. I was just telling somebody literally just the other day that it was John Harper who got Joe started in radio so that he could educate seniors and their families, and you got him started on your own TV show. So he got started with radio and TV to try to educate families, builds up all the Brevard Alzheimer's, retires from that, and then says we haven't done enough, so we got to start helping senior Brevard. And here we all are 14 years later. But I'm so glad that the Brevard County Commissioners, and it's one of the few times I laugh about this, I said, they unanimously voted. How often can you get politicians to agree on anything? But they unanimously approved the resolution for Joe, and I think it's very worthwhile.
It definitely is worthwhile. So, congratulations to Joe. Joe, you keep on getting accolades. You deserve it. And what's interesting is you don't do it for the accolades. You do it because you know it's the right thing to do. And you lead us all in that same direction. So well done to Joe Steckler.
Absolutely. You know, it's a funny story to your point. Joe turned 90 in December, and Dr. Sheldon and I were at the we call it the Helping Seniors Wellness event. So we do this every last Thursday of the month from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. right there at Joe's Senior Resource Center, which is that beautiful facility in the Omni Healthcare Building, 1344 South Apollo Drive in Melbourne, Florida. And literally, I'm in the middle of introducing our next speaker to the audience that was gathered there, and the phone's ringing, and it's Joe. Joe, because that's just Joe. He like wakes up every morning. He's like, we got to do more for seniors. And I think, Dr. Sheldon, I've noticed that leaders lead. You've done that. You've shown that in the dental industry. Not only have I jokingly call you the father of dental implants, but not only that, you're the guy that has really built up a practice that has existed successfully and served so many people for so many years that other practices call on you for your expertise, say, how do we get this right? And I think that's so important that when we talk about vetting people and getting your advice from people who really have a track record, have proven what they can do, is so important. And I really think as we kind of segue into our topic today, this is what makes what you have to say about all this so valuable. It's not only that we're fortunate to have you and solid bite doctors Sheldon and Furtado right here at home in Brevard County, but also that you are called on as a resource to speak at dental conferences, show other dental practices how to build. And then you're involved in a lot of research, helping people figure out connections that are going to help generations to come.
Boy, and that's one of the fortunate things. First of all, the fortunate thing is that I have two proteges, Dr. Furtado and my son, Dr. Matt Sheldon, who wanted to continue what we have done. And so, it's been 9 years since I did surgery on any serious level. And to watch what they have done, both on the surgical and restorative end, to build upon what we started here and to take something that was good and has made it so much better, it's very, very satisfying for me to see that. And at the same time, I'm still involved in the practice. So I have the opportunity of seeing patients. I have the opportunity of working with the other two doctors. We have our doctors meeting every Tuesday at 4 p.m. So that we can talk about complex cases. It allows me in my retirement years to not be retired, to actually be working with patients. And yes, there are some people on the outside who think that we can help them as well. It's very satisfying in retirement, Kerry, to know that there is something that's productive that I can do, and I want to extrapolate to you as well, and to Jim and to John, the people who are involved in this program. We have a purpose beyond just the retirement things, the vacations and playing golf and eating and stuff like that. That there is a purpose for every one of us and every one of the listeners here who are saying, listen, I really know I can do something. I'm not sure if I should do it. Yeah, You should. And it may even be helping out one of the Helping Seniors organizations, helping them do better. So I'm happy I'm doing what I'm doing. I know you're happy doing what you're doing in order to be able to move things forward and kind of get this idea of retirement off the front burner and make it a back burner thing, making sure that we fulfill another purpose, whatever that is. The number of people that I've met over the years, and including in my own profession, who said, I've always wanted to do this and now I have a chance to do it. Those are people who do well. So if you, as a listener, are saying, I really want to do something, do it. And even if you don't feel good, do it anyway, because you're going to feel better.
I want to just jump all over that for half a second, because literally yesterday I was in Joe's center and Karen Warnland, who is one of the folks that we call her an information specialist, but she's one of the couple of people that will pick up the phone and talk to you when you call that senior information helpline at 321-473-7770. And literally, she was training one of our new volunteers because they had a big meeting last week. We're finally in the role where people are able to help us in that center with phones and things like that. And she was training a lovely lady named Elizabeth, who was volunteering a couple hours of her time. And, I agree 100%. If there's nothing, if you just, we have one of the partners in the center. She's a occupational therapist, and her hashtag is keep life moving. And I was thinking, and she says, if it moves, you got to move it if you want to, if you want to keep it moving. And I was thinking, well, that goes for your physical, but it also goes for your emotional and your just how you're getting stimulated, even with things. So these people who don't really have to do this are willing to come out and help us. And we hear from them. They get as much out of it. If to us, it's a blessing. It's a big help, but it also does seem to be good for them. So I'm really excited and 100% up with what you're saying. And by the way, they are actively now building that volunteer opportunity, helping us do that at Helping Seniors. So if you have an inkling that you might want to, you got a couple hours a week on your schedule and you might want to be a help, we are finally at a position where we sort of have a pathway for that. So give us a call at 321-473-7770. I'll say that number again, 321-473-7770. And Dr. Sheldon, we're going to get into the topic, braces at my age, which is funny. We're talking about experience and all that. And I guess that's going to be a fun thing for us to cover in the second half of the show. I do want to, before we get to the mid-show break, though, let everybody know we're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon of Solid Bite, Dr. Sheldon Furtado. There is a great program that you have that's actually also a help to Helping Seniors, where you can actually go on. It's called Solid Bite Gives Back. You make a donation to Helping Seniors and you get a full comprehensive dental evaluation that what must be like $500 or $600, Dr. Sheldon?
Yeah, it's at least. I've stopped adding up how much things would cost.
Yeah.
but let's say at least $600.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something that we established a long time ago. Kerry said, listen, I can't charge that much for an examination. Let's charge $50 or more to Helping Seniors of Brevard. Make the donation to Helping Seniors of Brevard. We'll give you the entire comprehensive examination, a 2-hour experience, something that most people say to me, I've never had an examination like that before, and we'd be happy to see you. So just give us a call at 321-259-8000, and we'd be happy to see you.
Great. And we'll be back, and we're going to talk braces at my age next on Helping Seniors Radio.
And that music means we're getting ready for the second half of Helping Seniors of Brevard and, of course, our Wednesday special with Dr. Lee Sheldon and our host, Kerry Fink. And, Kerry, we often talk about when we're in the studio, everybody seems to kind of dance around to that music. Well, in this case, we've got Dr. Lee Sheldon in Melbourne, you're in Palm Bay, and Jim Votro is in Suntree. I'm in Titusville. Are we all dancing to that music right now?
Of course we are. And it just proves that helping seniors can be countywide, right?
That's right. That's right.
No, it's good. No, we love the music of your life. That's what we always called it back in the day, and it still is. It's classic. And John, you and I have laughed about this when we get guests in the studio, even if they're first time guests and somebody may be a little bit intrepid because, like, okay, I'm not really used to being on the radio. Doesn't matter. You play that song, and then everybody's just bouncing right along, and the show goes great.
It never fails, right? It's amazing.
Yeah. So with that, we'll kind of like move into our second portion of the Wednesday lunch gathering right here around the radio, 90.3 FM, WEJF. Welcome back. If you're listening online, WEJF.net. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you for continuing to listen. And by the way, if you missed any, maybe you were on the radio or you just tuned in, you missed some great discussion from the first half. That's one of the reasons why we put these together as a podcast. So you can find them wherever you get podcasts. Doesn't matter if you go to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Hey, Alexa, you're going to find, just tell it to look for Helping Seniors Radio, and you'll be able to jump right in. Our guest today is none other than a long-time friend of the Helping Seniors organization. He actually serves on our board of directors and helps us try to do everything we're hoping to accomplish in the world of helping seniors. You know, our county, Brevard County, we're this odd little shaped, I heard somebody describe it the other day as a shoestring. We're 72 miles long, north to south, and we're not all that wide, but we have all these great communities that John Harper was just referencing from the north up in Titusville all the way down in the south. We're not even the south. We're in Palm Bay, but, we kind of go, we have to talk to everybody from Micco to Mims because that really is the extent of the county. And Dr. Lee Sheldon, you're kind of in the center of the county because your practice that you've built up over the years, Solid Bite, Dr. Sheldon and Furtado, you guys are right kind of in the center of it, right there on Sarno Road in the Melbourne, which is pretty much center county. And there you have built a practice that not only is successful at helping those of us who are fortunate enough to live in this area, but also you get called on from people who are in this profession from literally all over the country, asking them, how can we make our practices better? So Dr. Lee Sheldon, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Kerry, and it's good to be back. Today, we're going to talk about something that I don't talk about on the radio very much because we don't do it. It's a specialty called orthodontics. It's braces. And the title of the essay, which you will see in the June edition of Senior Scene magazine, is Braces at My Age. So we're going to talk about that because fully 30% of orthodontic treatment is done on adults.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Had no idea. I always thought it was like a, teenager thing. I just got my adult teeth and now we want them to get straightened out. Did not know.
It is, and it's so important. And we work with some very good orthodontists within the county. I sent this article to them. They were quite pleased that I wrote it. And so they didn't have any corrections for me whatsoever. So I hope to be able to cover at least there are 7 different areas where orthodontics can be beneficial for adults, and we'll talk about as many of those 7 as we can. And and read Senior Scene magazine, and you'll get to see all 7. So let's talk about them. Kerry, any particular order you want to carry it out? Do you want to do it in order?
I think the one that you listed first is the one that is really the one that comes to my mind, which is, we don't want to have a crooked smile. And that's what I always think when somebody talks about braces. As a teenager, you live through the brace face, tin grin, and all that kind of hassle you get from your other classmates in younger school. But the point is, you want, when they take the braces off, you want to not have a crooked smile. You want to have a pleasant smile.
Exactly right. And sometimes people take the braces off and didn't wear a retainer, and so they go right back to their old smile. Now what do we do? Because when teeth were crowded and the orthodontist straightened them out, it meant the body wanted to crowd them a bit anyway. Now, they won't go back fully to where they were before, but there is such a thing as orthodontic relapse, and orthodontic relapse can be treated. And retainers are very important. You know, when we grew up, we said, oh, you just have to wear the retainer for 6 months and that's it. That's not the rule. People wearing retainers now wear retainers for a lifetime, and retainers are very comfortable. So it's easy to wear them and keep your teeth from moving. But there are some who decided never to do anything. They want to put it off. Their parents couldn't afford it, whatever it was. Orthodontic treatment can be done at any age to move the teeth into a position where you're proud of your smile again. And there are some times when the bite doesn't work very well, and the teeth can be moved so the bite is good. Orthodontics is probably the least expensive treatment that we do for comprehensive care. So, so it's great. And to be able to find a good orthodontist and to be able to look at that is important. We probably send, probably 5 or 10 patients to the orthodontist a month. That's how important it is, because we're a reconstructive practice and we want to be able to get things right. And we'll talk about how to get things right. But yes, cosmetics is number one. You have overlapped upper teeth, you have overlapped lower teeth. Those teeth can be straightened out these days. There are the clear plastic type of braces where you don't have to have the wires, and you just have something that's removable that has graduated plastic trays, which gradually move the teeth in the correct position. And a good orthodontist can give you a choice of both and can tell you which would be the best for you. And then you can make the best decision for yourself as to which way you go. But yeah, teeth can be straightened out. You can have good cosmetics at any age. And there's a big benefit having good cosmetics as we get older.
You know, I was thinking about this. Not only are you because you really look at whole health of the mouth as a periodontist, but actually your practice has been built around helping people really get the best smile in a healthy way possible. You know, I remember you and I have done a television show called The Perfect Smile, and there is a large part. I did a television show with Dr. Matt Sheldon talking about cosmetic dentistry, which was fascinating because I didn't realize that there were some very affordable ways to approach this. And hearing you talk about having possibly braces at an older age than we think of it when you're starting out is pretty amazing, because I'd always sort of assumed it was for cosmetic purposes. What I didn't realize as I started to read your article, though, was that it actually can have some real benefits, probably to your overall mouth health. Talk a little bit about some of those. I mean, I think once we get past number one, a lot of the focus is on let's get you as healthy as we can, and so that your mouth is working right.
It's true. I saw a patient last week, and the second one is to balance the load on each tooth. So what does that mean? It means when you close down, there is a certain amount of pressure that each tooth takes. And the more teeth that are meeting, the less the pressure on each individual tooth. So I had a patient last week who had some periodontal disease problems, and he was here for a second opinion. He'd been having treatment done for a number of years, and he was actually in quite good shape. Unfortunately, he'd been told to have all his teeth extracted once he got here, and so he came in for second opinion. Well, when I looked at him, his worst periodontal disease was on his second molars. And guess what? The only teeth that he was biting on was his second molars and a little bit of his first molars. So if we'd seen the orthodontist or balanced out the load, then the weakest teeth wouldn't be taking all the force anymore, and those teeth would potentially look and would have healed a lot better. And so the goal is for every tooth to meet when we close down. Now, I've written a couple of articles about this, and I wrote one in Senior Scene magazines probably 3 years ago. How do you check to see whether each tooth is meeting? What you do is take the thinnest piece of cellophane that you can, something that comes in cellophane that's in a wrapper, and cut it into a small strip, only the width of a tooth, and put it between your upper and lower teeth and bite down and try to pull the strip out. Do that for each set of teeth that meet. If you can pull the cellophane out, it means those teeth aren't meeting. If the cellophane grabs on that set of teeth, then you know those teeth are meeting. Check to see which teeth are meeting and which ones aren't. That will tell you whether you are passing what I used to call the load test. If you don't pass the load test, it may be something to talk about with your dentist.
Wow. It's interesting because, again, it's so when we talk a lot about these dental issues, we talk about how it impacts your overall health. And one of the things that I was thinking as you were just talking about, that is one of the benefits perhaps of having braces is to help that. Well, number one, not only is it probably better for your long-term health, but as you've explained before, when you can chew your food right, that's going to have a lot of benefit to your body as well, right? Because you're going to be properly getting stuff into your system, I would think. Am I saying that right way?
You're saying that correctly. People chew, and they chew in order to be able to put the food into smaller pieces, but there's also enzymes that come out of the salivary ducts that have mixed with the food. Then it makes your stomach work less. You can get the food through a lot more easily with those items, with those enzymes, than without. So yeah, that's important. And the more teeth meet, the more the opportunity to grind the teeth into smaller pieces, the less work your stomach has to do.
Well, and then apparently there's also a kind of a dental benefit. Like if you're looking to work on this to sort out some of the other things going on in your mouth, apparently braces might be a tool that could be useful in that too. Which I hadn't even thought about that either.
Yeah, so let's look at that. First of all, the balance the load on each tooth. Yeah, that's important. Orthodontics can move teeth that are no longer touching into the correct position. We also do that with bridge working with crowns and things like that. We do that with implants. We do that with a number of things. But the easiest way, if it can be done, is to do it with braces. The third thing is if we're doing bridge work, that means we grind down the two teeth or more on either side of the space of a missing tooth. So if we decide not to do it in implant, the next way of doing it is a fixed bridge, something that is cemented to the two teeth on either side of the space. If those teeth are parallel, then we have to grind down those teeth anyway. If the teeth are parallel, that's the optimum. If the teeth are crooked and don't line up with each other, then we have to grind the teeth down until they are parallel with each other. And that means we have to grind down the teeth more than we would have to do otherwise. It's much easier for the orthodontist to line those teeth up for us, so we do minimal preparation of the teeth in order to be able to minimize the damage to the teeth when we're placing a fixed bridge. So when I'm working with an orthodontist, I tell the orthodontist, here's what my ultimate treatment plan is, or our ultimate treatment plan is. Can you move these teeth into this position in order to be able to accomplish this result? And the orthodontist is going to factor that in to the overall treatment plan. Of course, with our orthodontist, we meet with our orthodontist anyway. It's so much easier now, Kerry, with online meetings. You don't have to go to restaurants and gross out the server. You can just talk about it just as you and I are talking from our individual offices right now, when we used to have to go to the studio and do this. So that we have online meetings, we have the x-rays, we have the models, and they're virtual models now. So we have models of your teeth, we have photographs, and we can talk about what each member of the team is going to do, in what order the doctors are going to do it, in order to be able to create the quickest result and the most beneficial result for the patient.
Yeah, it's all about making that plan. And I guess there was another thing. The next point up I thought was interesting, because I never thought, well, braces may be a tool that could be used to help you avoid gum surgery. That I never even thought about that one.
Yeah, isn't that something? And it happens. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen when we see teeth that have this up and down look, where the teeth are longer at the gum line, and so we have uneven gum lines. And there's some grafting that we can do, but it's actually easier, better, more beneficial, and more predictable, if you're a candidate for this, for the orthodontist to line up the gums by moving the teeth. You see, when you're moving teeth, you've got braces on the teeth themselves. The wire is pulling on the tooth, which is in turn pulling on the ligament that holds the tooth to the bone, which in turn is pulling on the bone, which in turn is pulling on the gum. So it's an entire system of 4 different items. The tooth, the ligament, the gum, and the bone are all working in unison. And so if the orthodontist pulls the teeth in the direction that we want, the orthodontist can even out the gum line without needing a periodontist. Oh, I'm putting myself out of business. I can't stand this. I shouldn't be talking anymore, Kerry. But but yes, we ask the orthodontist to do that. The orthodontist can do some neat things in order to be able to minimize the amount of gum surgery, increase the cosmetic result.
Wow. How about that? Well, actually, the next point, though, actually does potentially increase your business because, like I said, you were really a pioneer in the world of dental implants. But I had no idea that braces and orthodontics might be part of the process of making that whole dental implant process work.
Oh, yeah, we've done that where we have a tooth that's broken and the bone and the gum has receded, but the tooth is still in the socket. Well, what's the obvious thing you do? You extract the tooth. No, you don't. You attach a wire to that tooth and gradually pull that tooth down. And as you pull that tooth down, the gum and the bone come with it, so we don't need to do a bone graft.
Wow.
This is elegant when we do this, and it takes some talent. It does take some talent to do it on the orthodontist part. But if we do that, we can do a more predictable job with repositioning gum and bone with orthodontic treatment, if you're a candidate for it, than we can when we do the bone grafts ourselves, particularly when we're doing a vertical bone graft. The orthodontist can create more vertical bone than we can more predictably. So, yeah. Does it happen very often? No. But when it does happen, boy, is it satisfying. And it saves the patient time, money, and surgical treatment, with whatever, downsides you have from surgery, because certainly some of those surgeries have a little bit of a healing period, so to speak. Yeah, you can save yourself all of that by having the teeth lined up and pulling a tooth down in order to be able to recreate gum and bone. It's so neat.
Isn't that fascinating? I guess one of the things is there's so many nuances to all this. That's why we talk about so often that you got to really talk to experts who are kind of on the cutting edge of everything that's possible and are able to think creatively and knowledgeably about what's going to adapt best for your own particular situation. I thought this one, I guess, probably deserves a lot of attention because, again, I think most of us, when we talk about braces, we're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist, who is article coming up is called Braces at My Age. And one of the things that we're usually used to teenagers getting braces because the adult teeth are in, some of them are crooked, and so they want to work all that out. But as you point out in this article, that this happens a lot, actually, as we age, that crowding and stuff like that actually could be accelerating as we get older.
It does. People used to say my teeth are crowding because of my wisdom teeth. That was disproven years ago. The reason teeth crowd is because teeth tend to move forward towards the midline as we get older. They just do. So if teeth are out of alignment, if teeth are slightly crooked when we're younger, they're bound to get more crooked in many cases as we get older. And it's usually the lower teeth that crowd first, and one of the lower teeth can be crowded out towards the lip. That will put pressure on the upper tooth, and the upper tooth will be crowded, will be pushed out of line as well. So if we can catch this early, Kerry, then the orthodontist can line up the teeth properly, probably within 6 or 8 months. It doesn't take very long. And then wear retainers so you don't have to go through major orthodontic treatment later on. So there are opportunities. If your teeth are starting to crowd, the orthodontist or even we can put in a guard to keep them from crowding more. So even if we can't afford braces, you can do something to keep the teeth from moving any farther. either to keep them in position or to wait until you can afford them. And that can be done very inexpensively as well, by making a little night guard to prevent the teeth from moving any further. So understand, just because we didn't get braces when we were a teenager doesn't mean that we aren't going to suffer consequences as we get older. And some of these consequences can be worked on a little bit at a time if you need to, in order to make sure that you don't suffer major consequences of teeth being badly crowded of the arch, requiring a great deal of orthodontic treatment. So between you and your dentist, and your dentist and your orthodontist, you can get an opinion. Sometimes the orthodontist will say, there's nothing I can do, or there's nothing you need to have done. And that's a very beneficial, inexpensive visit to find out that you're actually in good shape and you don't need to have any additional treatment done. Best thing to do is a good coordination among all the dentists. We started off as a specialty practice, as you know. We were periodontists, and we did periodontal disease and dental implants. We expanded out into a full service practice, which we're very happy to be able to provide. But still, among the services, you're better off seeing a specialist for every one of those services. So we don't do any orthodontics here, even though we're qualified in one of the in one of the computer generated techniques. We don't do it. We can do root canals here, but we don't do it. We send you out to a root canal specialist, because the root canal specialist does it every day. They have the equipment, they have the training, they have the talent in order to be able to make sure that everything is done right, and the judgment call as to when it should be done and when it doesn't need to be done, or when it shouldn't be done. So there's an awful lot of advantages, and we've talked about this, advantages in specialty care, because specialists are trained to not only know how to do it, but also to know when not to do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good conversation with Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist with Dr. Sheldon and Furtado Solid Bite Dental, talking about the value of braces at any age. And Dr. Sheldon, if somebody wants to take advantage of that offer that we talked about, the Solid Bite Gives Back, which actually helps us as the Helping Seniors nonprofit, because you basically, what ends up happening is when you go to Dr. Sheldon's office, you make a donation to Helping Seniors, and you get, like we were mentioning, a really comprehensive look at what's going on, and you'll hear exactly a good plan with a lot of data that helps you determine the best course for all of that. How do people take advantage of that?
Just give our office a call, 259-8000, or go to solidbite.com. You can make an appointment online. So 321-259-8000. Let us know that you heard us on Helping Seniors of Brevard, and our staff will get you all set up. A $50 donation to Helping Seniors of Brevard. You can get the full examination, X-ray, CT scan, everything we do. We'll give you the best experience we possibly can.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Dr. Sheldon. So just before we go, I want to tell you about a date you want to get on your calendar. Saturday, May 18th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to meet up at Joe's Senior Resource Center. We're doing a little fundraiser. I'd like to ask you to consider getting some tickets for it, because it helps keep our work going. It's the Choose Your Ultimate Flavor Adventure. And one of our favorite people in the world, Chef Jillian Zibries with Chefs for Seniors of Melbourne, has called a couple of her chefs together, and they're going to do we're calling it a sip and stroll, but it's a tea and tasting. So there's going to be 6 different entrees that you can kind of taste from, and 6 different teas that are kind of paired with it. And it's a fundraiser to support, we call it Choose Your Flavor Adventure, because it's part of the 8th annual Helping Seniors Choose Your Adventure car raffle. And so she's been creative and paired each tasting with one of the cars, which is very creative. And you'll have to either call us to get more details at 321-473-7770, or you can go to helpingseniorsofbrevard.org and you'll see it there. Or if you're on Facebook, you'll see there's an event published about it as well. But it's a fun fundraiser, and everybody who comes out buys a ticket, gets the tastings, but you also go home with your very own personal chef's apron. So then you can try some of this at home, as it were, too. So make sure you give us a call. We're talking Saturday, May 18th, 2024, at the Senior Resource Center, 321-473-770 for tickets and info. And that's our time. Thanks, Dr. Sheldon. And we'll
Thank
see
you,
you.
Kerry.
We'll see you next week for Helping Seniors Radio.